What we have here is the ultimate Sherlock Holmes story. It's like a murder mystery or who done it. Where's the coach going to go? Who's going to go? There's so many questions. There's so many false rumors, and it's such a difficult story to report. We're going to keep trying. We keep digging, and we get good reporters on here like we got tonight. Kevin Brockway will join us to talk about one particular rumor this after today about one guy withdrawing himself from the race. We just got, I tell you, I must give it up for Ole Miss and for Kiffin. They've done a masterful, and Jimmy Sexton, they've done a masterful job of keeping the lid on and only letting the things out that they want to get out. And these visits to Gainesville and visits to Baton Rouge, and they did happen, but Lane wasn't. It's just a lot, okay? But that's what we do tonight. We're going to try to be as honest as possible and clear about our thinking. Not that we know anything, because nobody does. Give you our best version of what we think we know. And by the way, it'll change the next hour. That's this story. It's a moving target. I watched some of my young friends reporting this story. We got some good ones in the media. Basically, they're understanding now what we said when they said two things can be true at once. You can be right this hour and wrong the next. It is amazing. It's a wonderful internet story, but it's a challenge for all journalists. We got one of the best ones coming up here in just a moment. Kevin Brockway joins the program, Buddy Martin. Then we've got Allie Pete Wilbur tonight back. Yay. And then our friend from Ocala, the guy who's worked on a wonderful book, Carlton Reese, his basketball book. Franz Beard wrote it. It's really good. It's out. It's printed. Tell you how to get that. Lots of stuff along those lines. There are things besides. No, there's not. There's only one story. It's Lane Kiffin. Stay tuned. We'll bring it to you right here.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind, because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. I'm Buddy Martin. He's Kevin Brockway. We got a show for you tonight that you're going to like, because we're going to try to actually deal on some facts, which is hard to get someplace these days. And Kevin, good evening to you. I know you've been a busy man, a lot going on. And we talked earlier today, and I want to focus on this without sounding critical of other people, because this is a hard story to report. It's almost impossible. But there are things that pop up, and people say them, and they swear by them, and then you track them down. You spend your time as a legit reporter chasing down a lot of these rumors, and it's hard to know who to believe. So let me just say to you, how do you do it? How do you choose the ones you believe? And what do you do to fend off this idea that these rumors are flying right and left and you don't know what to believe?
Well, I think you have to find the sources that are closest to the story. I think that's the main thing. Gary Smith, who was a former Gator Bait guy, right, went right to the source, went right to John Summerall, apparently, because he covers Tulane for NOLA. And Summerall denied that there was any meeting that took place and that was going to take place. Now, in fairness to Zach, or in fairness to Graham, perhaps he heard this from an agent, and perhaps it was supposed to be set up, and but it never followed through because Summerall didn't want it to follow through, because he doesn't want it to be a distraction before the game gets too late. I would give them a little bit of fairness on that, and maybe that they went through a party that was close to Summerall, perhaps an advisor or an agent. But anyway, bottom line is, they had to somewhat retract it or basically say, hey, look, this meeting.
Well, it said it wasn't going to take place. It's been canceled.
But I don't think that there was ever a meeting that was going to take place.
Okay.
That Summerall was aware of. Let's put it that way. Maybe
Well, I agree with you on that, and I don't really pretend to be on top of this story.
Yeah.
I don't. I've been down this road a lot of times in my career with these stories. I mean, I can tell you from 60 years ago, and not like it was today, but still, there are a lot of false rumors. I've been through with Foley. They sent ghost planes up to keep us from finding out things. I mean, this is not like my first rodeo. It was not even my first cattle drive. But the bottom line is that I'm not saying I know something. I'm telling you what I do know is I don't know. And it's really a blind stab. It's hard to report. And it's like catching smoke. It's there and it's gone. I mean, literally, I've been right 1 hour and wrong the next. And so, I mean, in my lifetime, and you have too, you've reported stories that you were solid gold for sources. And that was true, but then it changed.
Yeah, no, and listen, that it's happened, but I don't know about this one, buddy, in terms of Summerall having knowledge that a meeting was taking place. Unless he was so incensed that it got out, maybe he was just in deny mode. He could have been, but it sounds to me like, based on some people I talked to, that it was really taken by surprise by this whole story. Now, the only thing I can tell you that I know is I've always heard the $15 million a year figure, and apparently it's right now they're saying 10. I initially heard 7, but that's what's out there from Florida. That's what he's looking for, and I think that that still holds. So whoever's going to get him is going to have to pay. Make him the highest paid coach in college football over Kirby Smart, who's won 2 national championships.
Here's why I think you're correct. Now that I think you would be correct, because you're a very good reporter and you're careful, is that I have the best source I have on LSU I've had for 10, 12 years. He knows a bunch of stuff, and he's been right 90% of the time.
Yeah.
He tells me Summerall's been told if Kiffin goes from Ole Miss, he's going to be their first choice. Summerall will be hired by Ole Miss. So he's going to have to be kept. Maybe he said, wait a minute, I'm not going to muck up these waters. It also may mean that he might think that Kiffin's coming either because, I mean, there's a lot of nuances to the story. And I want to say this, sometimes you can theorize, you can almost paint a fictional scene and get a truer picture of what things are like this. This is just one scenario. There are many scenarios. This is one. I don't say it's true. But I'm thinking, all right, I'm Jimmy Sexton. I'm driving this bus, and I'm Florida, without a president, and obviously an athletic director that's got his butt on the line here needs to be right. And they're saying 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we got to get this right. We're all dead in the water if we don't. We have a tremendous athletic program. We have lots of resources. Going to have more. How do we make sure we get it right? So I'm saying, okay, let's call Jimmy Sexton. Jimmy, I don't want to play games here. I don't want to negotiate. I want you to tell me, come back and tell me what's it going to take, whatever it is, what's it going to take to get Lane Kiffin. And we're not going to bargain over it. We're not going to nickel on it. We're going to just say, okay, here it is, yes or no. And so Sexton thinks, okay, I'm going to get a number here that I think I can live with because, like he said, Lane says, I don't care about money. He says, I do. And so I'm your Jimmy Sexton. What's your number going to be? 150 million is going to be. That's what it's going to be, right? And plus the money I need for NIL. So here's the deal. Okay, that's you're saying if we give you that, then we're going to get him. Yes, I think so. So they said, okay, that's the number, 150, etc. Whatever it is, I'm making it up, but that's what they're reporting. And so we want him when he's done. We understand he's got a problem with the playoffs, but when the time comes, if he goes, we got to have him. Get your word that you'll help us. And he'd say, okay, I'm with you. And then after that's all chaos. That's one scenario I would see. You agree?
I agree. I think the other, I think the timing too and the timetable is something that certainly is interesting and fascinating. And, can he or does he announce whatever decision that he makes on November 29th after the Egg Bowl, or does he want to, or does he feel like he has to, or does Ole Miss feel like he has to wait until the college football playoffs are over? And if that's the case, what kind of anxiety or angst will the LSU and the Gator fan base be feeling waiting through this whole process? And what kind of plan Bs will Florida or LSU have in place if that's the case? That's this it could stretch into close to Christmas, possibly. I think that's the other option too. But I don't think either Florida or LSU necessarily wants that to be the case, but it might have to be the case.
Well, you think so? With given this the National Signing Days coming up and all that stuff, I mean, wow.
I think you know what? To get the right guy, I think you have to punt on that, and you have to have almost like a wink nod agreement with your recruits saying, "Hey, look, we're going to get this guy," and have Billy Gonzalez act as the interim through December. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that could be a possibility in this scenario because I don't think Lane or his camp necessarily wants it out there that he's taking another job before he's coaching Ole Miss in the college.
Well, of course, he doesn't want it out there, but he can't avoid it. It always gets out. And Kevin Brockway.
I'm not saying it might get out, but it's not going to be an official announcement. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but they're not usually official. They're usually official later when they get out. They have their own lives. This is a really difficult story to report.
Sure.
And so cut my colleagues a little slack here. We're going to be some things that we're going to take based on someone telling us something. Here's somebody I know that knows so-and-so, and you trust him or her as a source, and they've got it right in front of them saying, look, I got a document that shows this. And you think, hey, what could go wrong there, right? And it does. There's been stories where there's been contracts allegedly written by Florida and handed to the coach, and they denied it. And I know, in fact, it was. And so we don't know these. So this is a slippery slope tonight. We got Kevin Brockway for a few more minutes. Allie Pete Wilbur will be back. She's got some good stuff to talk about. She interviewed Urban Meyer earlier. We hope to have Urban on tomorrow morning, but he has an early flight to the West Coast in the morning, so we won't be able to do that this time. But here's a couple of little breaking news. George Gums, done as a Gator. He's apparently injured out, and that'll be it for him. He's been
knee surgery.
That's a difficult one.
Confirmed it, but opportunity for Jaden Woods, though.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player. There's always opportunities. Here's what I like. The Falcons signed Kyle Trask, finally, to the practice squad. There's a guy that can't get a break, man. Can't get a break. So, and kudos to the people who are the real heroes of the story. Another sellout. Tennessee game marks the 17th straight sellout for the Gators. This is a team that is just barely hanging on, and they're selling it out. 17 straight. I mean, give them something. That's got to be one thing that's got to be, got to be attractive to Lane Kiffin.
Prime time game, and I think the weather won't be terrible. And then you've got honoring Urban before the game. There might be and the 10-game winning streak against Tennessee at the Swamp. You can't discount that. This is going to be the last time that they play on an annual basis because of the fact that the change in the SEC schedule. So there's still a lot, and I think this is a winnable game for Florida, believe it or not, because of the history and because Tennessee's got a really bad defense. I mean, this could be a game where Florida could have to score.
They could get it off and throw it to the right colored jerseys. And I've got to tell you, my heart, I know they made a bunch of mistakes, but my heart went out to those guys. They played their ass off in Oxford, and they didn't get it, but they played. Again, kudos to what the players and the coaches did there in a difficult situation. Let's do this.
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that you can see why Lane Kiffin is such an attractive coach by how they played offensively. Now, he had some wonky play calls near the goal line a couple of times when he should have just pounded it in with Lacey. But for the most part, the way they play offense and what he can dial up, is tremendously exciting.
And the big plays on defense, the big plays too as well. All right, so let's do this quick shout out to our sponsor, Allie Peak Wilbur, standing by. She'll be here. We'll get our take on things, and we'll have a little collaborative solve the whodunit mystery. Sherlock Holmes should be here for this one. What in the world is going on with the coach of Florida? So stay tuned. Allie will be right here. Meanwhile, I want to tell you about what my friend Jeffrey Meldon is doing is unbelievable. No school has ever done this I know of. This Friday, they'll play is it Merrick? Is that the name of the school? And they'll play
Merrimack. Yeah.
Merrimack. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're not a big name school, but that's not the important thing. They're giving away 10,000 replica championship rings. Giving away. So, man, I've seen the rings. They look great. So all you got to do is have a ticket and go to the game. You get one of those replicas. These are the kind of things Meldon Law does. They do wonderful things for themselves and for the Gators. And they, of course, are the only official law firm for the Florida Gators. Jeffrey's longtime Gator, a guy that's not only an excellent attorney, but a real good guy and a guy that loves this basketball and football program. So, and also, by the way, if you need help legally, go to Meldon Law. They won't back down. Well, let's go see what our colleague in Tampa is doing. Every time I look up, her numbers keep growing. She gets bigger and bigger audiences. I think she just passed 5 million, I believe. And she's done a great job. I'm proud of her. Allie P. Wilbur. Good evening to you, Allie.
Hello, how are you guys?
You're a different place.
I am. My office is getting renovated, and unfortunately, the cabinets have been delayed. So hopefully, in the next couple of days, we'll have an office, but we'll see.
Well, looks good. I like it. It looks very holiday-ish. And by the way, so can you bring us a new wrinkle to the story? Maybe give us who's the new coach of Florida going to be? Bill Belichick's coming, right? Is that right? They're the next coach.
I think maybe that's the only person we can confirm at this point is not coming. Is Bill Belichick. It is never a dull moment in Gator Nation. There just is not. I'm still pretty confident that it's going to end up as Lane Kiffin, but I don't know how you guys feel. But at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is great for content. This is so fun to talk about. Like, pretty ready to get off the roller coaster at this point now, though.
Can't. And that's the thing. It's like I was telling somebody last night. Shane, I'm so tired of this story. I said, Shane, you remind me of the guy who was a stockroom boy at Publix. When Publix gets a hot item, they want to sell thousands of them. And the owners and managers are happy, and the stockroom is going, boys going, crammity, I'm tired of this, But we're tired of it, but the fans can't get enough of it, apparently.
I mean, it's just, I think it was Scott Carter tweeted tonight that, like, this would make an awesome movie. And it's totally true. This is just, you could not make up some of the plot twists that have happened. And you guys have been around even longer than I have. And some of the things that we've seen, like, I think we've seen maybe some planted stories. I think we've seen some things leaked on purpose. I think we've seen some things kept quiet on purpose. Like, I feel like there's lots and lots of layers to this.
Screw the reporters and journalists. We're going to screw them. Listen, Jeremy Fuller sent up ghost planes to try to evade us years ago. I've been through this a lot, and I know it's hard. I want you guys to get a scenario. Just tell me, make up one. Say, okay, here's what I think has happened. This is why we're here now. And I'm going to give you one. It's not mine. I must say, I don't know the person's name. This is the kind of thing that makes sense. The step-by-step, blah, blah, blah. How did we get to this point? Now, you listen to this and then come up with your own. Okay. This guy is an Oxford resident. He's an Ole Miss fan. And he said, here's just the educated guess of how it went down. Number one, Florida job opened. They expressed interest in Lane. 2, Lane's agent, Jimmy Sexton, started negotiating a deal with Ole Miss to increase his salary to the highest in college football history. 3, Florida matched Ole Miss's offer. 4, Lane's intrigued by the Florida offer. His heroes are Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. He wants to win a championship like them. 5, Lane's publicly saying he wants to stay at Ole Miss because he's sincerely happy at Oxford. Internally, he's considering it, but unsure. 6, LSU job opens up. They offer the same or more money than Ole Miss in Florida. Number 7, Ole Miss starts to get frustrated with Lane's lack of acceptance. The public drama surrounding this starts to boil over. Number 8, Lane's big reason for staying in Oxford is his ex-wife, his son, his daughter being here. He thinks his best shot at a top 5 recruiting class in Ohio State level money is LSU in Florida. He tells his family he's torn, but the only way he'd move is if they would support it. Number 9, Ole Miss issues the ultimatum. They fear Lane leaving too late this year would mean that they can't hire another coach of Lane's caliber. They're also tired of the drama. Number 10, Lane takes a trip to LSU in Florida. By the way, he didn't, but his family did, apparently, to get support from family. And because he's legitimately unsure of what to do, Lane is unhappy with the pressure of the ultimatum. Number 11, finally, media coverage leaks visits. Lane's agent leaks the ultimatum. But what do you think? Like that?
Well, so I think that there's probably isn't truth to some of that. I think there's some things probably inaccurate. One, he lists Pete Carroll and Nick Saban as Lane Kiffin's idols, but doesn't mention Steve Spurrier,
Right.
which I think is a hole in this story. He wears the visor because of Spurrier. He talked about how he wanted to be Spurrier, that he is cognizant the way he does because of Spurrier. So I think that they purposely leaving that out. I think that Ole Miss has underplayed the sentimentalness of Gainesville to this family all along. They keep talking about how Oxford is home. They've been in Oxford for 5 years, and I'm sure they like it, and I'm sure that he's the king of the town. But I do think that there's some serious ties to not only Gainesville, but the state of Florida that are being overlooked. I also,
and you know firsthand about some of those because you know the people.
Yeah, and I also think that's why I also think it's probably wrong about like where he says that, you know, Layla and the kids want to stay in Oxford. I mean, I'm sure Knox probably does want to stay in Oxford where all of his friends are. I don't know that a 15-year-old's opinions taken too highly into consideration when they decide the biggest move of the dad's career. Now, I'm sure Layla gets a say. That's that's a different situation. But she's lived in Gainesville. They went from Tampa to Gainesville. She went to college at the University of Florida, but she lived there as a high school student as well. Like, this is not an unfamiliar place to her. And if she's okay being in Knoxville, she'd probably be pumped to be back in Gainesville. I don't know that you can say the same about Baton Rouge. But I think what most likely happened, the Florida job opened. Florida probably did contact Sexton to find out if there was some sort of mutual interest. He tells them there is some sort of mutual interest. I know with 100% certainty, Lane Kiffin has had talks in person and on the phone with our athletic director and with multiple boosters for Florida. I know his GM has had multiple conversations with boosters at Florida, Glasscock. I think they've run down this road pretty far. I think LSU jumped in after the fact. I think if he ends up at Florida, I think LSU was just a leverage play. I think LSU, from what we've been told, is pretty much willing to offer a blank check. So I could see a scenario where Sexton says, look at this. They're willing to let us write our own ticket. We need you to up the NIL number, or we need you to up the coaching pool number, or, whatever else. If my personal opinion is, if he ends up at Florida, it's because it was the end of the top of the mountain for him, as Urban would say. If he ends up at LSU, I think what he's told us before about how he never makes a decision about money probably isn't actually accurate. And if he stays at Ole Miss, he doesn't want to fly close to the sun. And that will shock me, because I do think that he's one of those coaches. I told Urban, I refer to it in our house as the Icarus syndrome. Like, you just can't help it. You want to fly close to the sun. I think that that's the kind of coach Lane is, but maybe I'm wrong on that. And if that's the case, then maybe he does stay at Ole Miss and he wants to see if he can complete the mission there, and he's okay being comfortable.
Very good. I'm going to get back to you on this, so I want to continue it, but I also want to say that I know you talked to Urban, and I want to chat with you about that conversation. Some very interesting things Urban said. I want to talk about that, and then I want to get you to tell me now, percentage wise, you still believe he's coming to Florida, right? Right? What percentage would you give it?
I would say I'm 75% sure.
75. Okay, that's high. All right, I'm gonna ask Kevin.
I said that in an interview this morning. I said 75%.
So we're gonna get to that one.
I think we're thinking along the same lines.
Yeah.
All right, so I want you, don't give it away, Kevin. I just want to use it as a tease into your segment. Now, you tell me your scenario about what you think things are going to happen, Kevin.
I think Florida's might have to wait, but I think they'll wait it out if they have to wait, basically. And I think that Lane is still the top target, has always been the top target, and that from based on what I'm hearing, there have been discussions like similar to what Ali has said, but I think it might take a little time and it might take a little anxiety for Gator Nation.
Well, the anxiety is already there. So a question, and that will be how this plays out the next couple of weeks. I don't have any particular scenario. I gave you mine, which is that
I can't see him, announcing that he's either going to Florida or LSU on November 29th when he's got a college football playoff game coming up. I just can't see that.
But what if it's true that
because then he would lose the team. He would.
But what if it's true
And I
that he
think
was
that
told
is-
that he was told they don't want him to give an ultimatum, either tell us now or you're out after the Egg Bowl. I mean,
But he denied that on Pat McAfee.
well, I understand that.
Yeah, he denied that.
And there's a lot of twists and turns.
And I think Steve Carter would be foolish to do that as well.
I
don't
agree.
think-
I think he should coach him.
Yeah.
Allie, you?
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll want to coach them. I think that if he doesn't coach them, that's an Ole Miss call, not a Lane Kiffin call.
Mistake, I think. Would be a bad mistake. Well, it certainly gave us quite a year. If we tried to draw this up on the board a year ago, how many is coaches? 16 coaches fired now? How many there are? I didn't lost count. And talk about what this chaos creates.
Mhm.
It is like dominoes. It is like the game of dominoes. And they start falling over here. And now we're just beginning to see. It's like I said, what a great movie for Imelda Marcus, because it's when the other shoe drops. The other shoe is what we're waiting on, because these things don't happen just singularly. One happens and that creates 5 things that happen, and who knows? I mean, who knows what in the world? I hear Ole Miss won't Summerall. That's my really good source if it was Kiffin. I don't see him going to Baton Rouge. I don't know why.
Mm-mm.
First of all, Baton Rouge is not the garden spot of America. If you've been there, you know what I mean. It's not a great town. Oxford has a lot more to offer in that regard. It's great fans, great fan base, lots of money, etc. But I think Lane's past that time when he's playing. He stays not playing for a statue. He's past that time of needing all the affirmation of large crowds, although Florida with 17 straight sellouts is appealing. I just don't think it's a personality fit like it maybe had been. And so Florida would be the perfect alternative if, in fact, he leaves. And I've been saying till a week ago, I didn't think he's going to leave. I thought he was going to stay there. And then after the things happen. So I honestly do not know, but it sure is a heck of a story. So, and one isn't going to go away. And I don't agree with Kevin when he says they'll wait until Christmas. That's just not going to happen. They can't do that. Something's going to have to break. Something's going to have to happen. I don't. Somebody's going to go somewhere and say something, and they'll say, "Okay, I'm tired of this." And the big money guy will say, "Give me my check back over here. I'm tired of this." They're not patient, these boosters. I don't know, but I think absolutely that he's the best guy for the job. I don't even know where to go. I mean, Key from Georgia Tech is getting a little run now suddenly. What's interesting is when Florida made a big coaching change years ago and hired Ray Graves, he was from Georgia Tech. That started it all. That's when Georgia Tech, of course, had Bobby Dodds, the head coach, and they were a national power. But I don't know. Is there anybody out there that we've missed, guys? If you went back into the LA, if you stand it and said, okay, now I can have this guy and that guy or that guy. Is there anybody that you think is attractive?
I mean, I think if it's not Kiffin, I think you call Lincoln Riley and make him say no. I think he's pretty similar to Lane, maybe slightly less drama. But after those two, there's a pretty substantial drop down. And here's the thing. I think that there are other guys like Mike Elko that exist. And I think that there are guys that either we're not wowed by or we haven't even thought of that could win at the University of Florida. The problem is that we're in such a unique moment where if we don't get Lane, there's going to be such disappointment that it is going to be hard to convince us to get on board with whoever the next guy is. And that would make me feel bad for that guy because he would have less rope, less grace than than Kiffin would. It has been a long time since I've seen this fan base so united around a single candidate. Like when Napier was hired, the boards were like 12 coaches long. Everybody had split opinions. We had no freaking clue who we were getting. We definitely didn't know we were getting Napier the first couple of weeks. Like, there was no consensus number one at that time. And, I think that's the same thing with McElwain. Like, Dan Mullen, there was pretty much a consensus because that kind of made sense since Strickland had just come from Mississippi State. Mullen had been here. But I think you have to go back to Urban prior to that for like a real consensus. This is who we want. This makes sense.
But even there,
we lost it. I was going to tell Allie, let's not forget that, buddy, you were on the tarmac in Ocala thinking they were going to bring back Chip Kelly, remember?
Well,
that time during a few years ago.
That was a little more to that story, by the way, than people know.
Yeah.
That story was real. And he turned it down.
Yeah,
so
and that they flew up, but they didn't bring him back to New Hampshire. No, and they did talk to him, but apparently, what happened with it? So I mean, Chip Kelly was the first choice.
Yes.
Remember back then they didn't get him, and then Scott Frost apparently was the second choice, and Dan Mullen was the third choice.
Yeah,
and they ended up with Dan Mullen in that cycle. I do know one guy who would walk across the country for this job, but I don't know if he would necessarily be appealing as a fan. Then that's Jed Fish at Washington. Listen, he's got a Spurrier tie. He's a pretty good offensive coach. His teams have always turned around a really bad Arizona program, and that might be somewhat palatable. But Lincoln Riley, I think if it were a year ago, Lincoln Riley with all his struggles at USC, but I think he feels like he has USC back on solid footing now, where I don't see him leaving. But I do agree, you would probably try to tell him to say no.
Yeah, this is such an interesting moment that we're in where, when Urban left, we needed another coach, but we were not hopeless by any means. Like we were the University of Florida. We were 2 years removed from 2 national championships. So, and at that point when we got Muschamp was on everybody's hot board because he was the coach in waiting at Texas. And, I think, and then it didn't work out with him. And it just like, we've moved like deeper layers of depression, each coaching staff that hasn't worked out. And the fan base is just not in a great place. And I do feel like if UF doesn't land Lane, Strickland has to wear this, especially if he goes to LSU. If he stays at Ole Miss, I think you can say you can't argue emotion. He's comfortable. They've made him kind of a king there. He wants to see this out. No, it's not on the same plane as Florida and LSU, but he's happy, and you can't argue with that portion. If he goes to LSU, I think there's so much egg on Florida's face. We had a huge jump on this. We have a tie to him. It would just be straight up losing to Ole Miss. And, but I think this is the most important hire Scott Strickland will ever make. And if he hires Lane and Lane doesn't work out in 5 years, I don't think Strickland gets blamed for that. We all wanted him, and it just didn't work out. If he doesn't get Lane, whoever he picks will be perceived as that's who Strickland wanted. And if it doesn't work out, he will be known as the guy that hired three failed football coaches.
0 for 3.
He will wear this failure. It will be his legacy, not the renovations to the swamp, not the basketball national championship. He will wear this failure. And so I do think his legacy is tied to this hire. And I think he knows that.
Let's get back to that Urban question. And it's important to get context on these things, Kevin. And I know you agree with this, is that do you realize that Steve Spurrier wanted the job?
Before Urban, yeah.
I mean, I had conversations with him. He was on the golf course when I called him and told him Ron Zook had been fired. He couldn't believe Zook had been fired. He couldn't believe it. It really was. And then he really began to get interested in the job. And then they put out the biggest BS line in the world. We're going to look at a national candidate.
And they wanted Steve to interview. Remember?
That's not true. What was said, he said, was not true. He didn't say my reservation in the trophy case, but they did ask him to interview, which is insulting. And fully, of course. Anyway, it was not a pretty look. And Steve was at a point. I was in the Florida, Georgia, on the way in the car to Jacksonville when Spurrier called me and told me they're not going to hire me. I think I'm going to take the South Carolina job right then, which was be like, what? Works out pretty good, I'd say. Mm-hmm. But, there's time when people have to move on. But I'm just reminding people that nobody knew Urban Meyer. I mean, we didn't know Urban Meyer. We knew he did well at Utah and Bowling Green, and he was a hot guy and all that. But Urban Meyer wasn't like Gator fans said, "Oh yeah, he's great." They didn't know him.
No, but the match and tie was there,
That's the point I'm making. It's because of the president.
Yeah.
But the people who were in the program didn't really know Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And anyway, so how these things
let's not forget that first year for Urban wasn't smooth sailing.
No, he got booed, by the way, in his own hometown. And walked in the restaurant,
crying on the plane, right, after the Alabama game. And
Eric sat in the stadium for 5 hours by himself after that Alabama game. He sent a text message that said, "I don't want to see anybody, and that means you too." It's like, okay, well, all right.
Wow. Ouch.
But he figured it out. Year two, he figured it out, and you got to end.
Well, he did. He started having an all-night meeting, and they brought a fullback in to the offense and began to change everything. But anyway, so things happen, and lived happily ever after. But this is, Chris of Cuba brings up Kerwin Bell. It's amazing how this guy has never gotten a shot. Never gotten a shot. Isn't going to get a shot. He also decided, according to his good friend Shane Matthews, who talks to him almost every day, is that he would never be an assistant coach again. He went down to coach for Charlie Strong. He hated it, and he didn't like what he had to do. So he can only be head coach. But it's really intriguing. One wants to know were we excited when Billy Napier was hired? I will say this, that my friend at Baton Rouge, who does the ESPN afternoon show there, told me before the end, there's a good guy in Louisiana, Billy Napier. If LSU doesn't get their guy, Brian Kelly, they may go after him. I wasn't particularly excited about it, but I thought, well, what the heck? Let's give it a shot. How did you guys feel when I believe was hired?
I wasn't here. I was still in Indiana, but I remember during the pandemic watching the Louisiana team upset Iowa State. And don't you think that this is amazing? Urban had one more win against a ranked team on the road at Louisiana than he did in Florida. I mean, that's unbelievable if you think about it. But I remember in that game, they had like a punt return and a kickoff return for a touchdown. I'm thinking, all right, well, this guy, and maybe he'll bring back special teams. And that just never panned out, right? And that was like his signature win was he beat, Matt Campbell and Iowa State when they were, a top 10, top 15 ranked team. Remembered watching that game. But I think the problem with, Billy is everything he thought he did that worked at Louisiana was going to work here. And it was just a different level. And it's just obviously
including the entire staff. And I mean, and in hindsight's 2020, when I talked to Urban the other day after we were off the air, we were still kind of, we were talking, Eric came over, sat down, talking to him. They're talking about the upcoming game and stuff like that. And Urban notices that my producer has a ball over his head. It's a Florida State football. And my producer is a Florida State. He's like, TJ, is that a Florida State ball? And TJ, yeah, coach, it's signed by Bobby Bowden. I'm actually a Florida State guy. And he goes, if I was a little bit younger, that would really piss me off. Kind of goes back into the conversation and stuff. And I just, was kind of thinking about it and just the intensity of every single thing that he did. I should have known earlier that Napier wasn't going to work because of that, because I've seen firsthand what wins, and it is not lackadaisical. It's not, we're just going to give it our best, and every day we're going to get a little bit better. It's practicing until you can't get it wrong. It's attention to detail. And it's so interesting to be reminded about that in a non-football conversation, because you either are wired like that or you're not.
Bloody Tuesdays, Urban had.
And not only that, Allie, but you will know because, obviously with Eric too, is that a team takes on a personality of a coach.
100%.
And that's what was the problem, in the Napier.
20 years later, my husband still has that personality. When I watch him coach our 5-year-olds at the soccer field, and I hear 46 efforts of a relentless effort, do this, do that. It's every urbanism that was said over the time that he was there, and it still dictates the way that we do things in our household. That's how ingrained it was in every single one of them, and that's why it worked.
I'm laughing because my wife, who, by the way, is under the weather right now, thinking about her, she has 2 sons, and one's a pastor, one's a sheriff of Bay County. Mm-hmm. When they were small, and she's the sweetest, nicest, most gentle person you ever met in your life. But she had a green hairbrush. When the green hairbrush came out, trouble was it. I've said if there's ever martial law in Bay County, that green brush was the reason. So when I first met Tommy, it's still around. He went and got it and said, look, I thought, man, that's a great symbol. So, yeah, it's like everyone had a green brush. We all have little things. And there's a lot of things about coaches. Spurrier, for all his, easy rider, to use a 60, 70 reference, he laid back deal. He was absolutely, Kermit Bell told me this, said Spurrier, and he worked with him. So he said, in matters of things like lining up properly and getting your landmarks and receiver, you better get it right on the spot. Right on the spot. Mm-hmm. And so these coaches are all precision oriented. They're not just guys that make up plays in the dirt. And but no, it's just I just wonder, where did we lose it along the way? What was the one that we undid? Of course, Urban leaving, and then we had all the M coaches. None of them seemed to work out. The guy that should have been the guy really was several, but Mullen should have been it. What happened to Mullen? Why did he fail? He came in, we were excited. He was putting numbers up on the board. He's got Urban's background, and you think, this is a guy, and boom, the next thing you know, he was out of here. What happened, Allie?
I think it's twofold. I think, and I think I've shared this on this show before, but the first season that Mullen was there, when we played LSU at home, it was the 10-year anniversary of the 2008 national championship team, and everybody was back in town. And we went to walkthroughs on Friday before the game. And, he welcomed us in. We watched practice. My kids ran around. He stayed and talked to us for like 45 minutes afterwards. Everybody else had left. And one of the things he talked about was that this team didn't love winning and they didn't find football fun. And he felt like it was his job to make them understand, like, you're in college. This is the best time of your life. You're getting to play a game, here. This is an amazing opportunity and it should be fun. And I think about that when I think about later on people saying that, like, people missed curfew. He didn't punish in the same way that maybe he should have. He let things slide. And I do kind of wonder if that started from trying to allow these guys to enjoy what they were doing and make football fun again. And it kind of went off the rails. And then I do think there was some internal strife with the UAA. And I know for a fact he really wanted black uniforms, and they kept telling him, no, Florida doesn't do black uniforms.
So he became Darth Vader instead.
Right. And I think that there were a million little micro battles like that were very frustrating for him. And, Vernell Brown was on the staff at that point, and I sat with him it was like a recruiting event during the summer before his last season. And, he's coming off a 10-win season. Everything, there was no indication at that point that the wheels were going to fall off that next year. But he said, he's like, man, we're in such a hard time right now. We're trying to get a recruit down here. And he says, okay, well, Georgia paid me 10 grand to show up. Alabama paid me 10 grand to show up. So I want to make sure before I come, you guys are going to pay me 10 grand to show up. And it was right before they were allowed to do things like that. And Vernell was like, man, our hands are so tied. Everybody else is doing that. We can't. University of Florida is not going to let us bend the rules at all, for sure. So it puts us in such a hard spot recruiting. And I think about all those little things and the recruiting battles we lost out on. And I do think all of those little things add up to kind of being exhausted and just checked out of the situation, which is I think what happened.
Wasn't there an edict during the from administration before the Napier era about not recruiting guys from IMG because they were concerned about that, and Dan wanted people from IMG apparently.
Yes. And I know, I mean, and you can tell even from some of the comments that Dan has made since he made some this past season that kind of made me chuckle. But, Napier got all of the things that Mullen wanted. And you've got to think that has to sting a little bit when you're like, wait a minute, these are all of the things that I told you we needed to be successful. And you handed them to the next person when I tried to tell you that I had to have this stuff to get over the hump. And nobody has had more resources given to them than Billy Napier.
Yeah, let me get this guy in here real quick. And we've had an ongoing discussion. We've both given our scenarios, all three, about what we think is going to happen to the coach. And then we've asked if it's going to be Kiffin, what percentage is it? Let's ask this guy the same. Then I got a basketball question for you guys, okay? There is a pretty good basketball team playing there. They're giving away 10,000 replica rings on Friday night. So amazing. Let's just say
how do you introduce your guest?
Well, who he is, his name is Carlton Reese. And he is the author of, he's the publisher of the book that's just out. He's going to tell us about it. It's a heck of a
There's a guy in the chat saying, who is this guy? So
well, the guy just asked me, he says, do you visit Panama City often? Yeah, I do. I live here most of the time. But anyway, yeah, so I get it. But no, he's our guest. Sorry about that, folks. We should have name lines up there. I don't know why we don't. And so Carlton, my good friend, has done a fabulous job on this book. I'm going to try to pull it down here. It's out now, guys. It's actually, we printed this book ourselves. And so let's see. Jake Slaughter. So, hold on a second. Let me get it for you here. I just saw bolted on Jake Slaughter. I don't know what happened. I'm going to have him next week on this show. Anyway, so here's the book. And the book is really, really good. I'm proud of this. I'm proud because it's a Gator Bait publication, but the Golden Season. And real quick, before we run out of time, Carlton, tell us about, we got an event coming up here where people can buy this real quick, and tell them how. And we'll get back to
several things about purchasing the book. I know it's a little confusing. It's not being sold on Amazon. You're not going to find it in bookstores. So, and now we've just opened up one payment portal. If you go to theocalan.com, that's TheOcalan.com. I've put up a payment button so people can order it at the pre-order price of $25. The regular price is $30. So
it's a hardback also. It's a
hardback. This is really high quality stuff. And it's a great book by Franz. As far as events goes, Franz is going to be doing a book signing at the Chomp the Block, which is Friday before the FSU game. That's November 28th.
Celebration Point. Yeah,
Celebration Point. Look for the Gator Bait tent there, or you'll see Fran's mug sitting around there signing books, and they'll be for sale there too. That starts at 6 p.m. and that's a real fun event to go to. There'll be thousands of people there. He's also going to be doing a book signing in Ocala at Kuntz Furniture Company. That's on South Pine Avenue. That's going to be December 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. You can buy the book there. If you've already bought the book and want to pick it up and not have it shipped to you, you can go pick it up at Kuntz. We'll give you those details when you order the book, and Franz will sign it there for you.
And there's an email address if you need to have information, right? So
yeah, you can go if I've talked too fast for you, send an email to the Golden Season Book @gmail.com and say, hey, I want the book. Where do I go? And I'll send you the link to the Ocala. I think that there's going to be some other links up soon of where to get the book. But for now, I wanted to expedite this so people could buy their single books that way.
Okay, now if I can get off the screen. But, I'll go back to the conversation that we were having about the likelihood of Kiffin being the coach. Alex was 75%, right, Allie?
That's what I said.
And what did you say, Kevin?
It's the same thing, 75%. I
I
said
got
in an interview this morning.
75 so he'll be the coach. Not that he'll get the offer, but he'll be the coach. Give me yours, Carlton.
Well, I was about 50-50 the whole way, but since there's been no denials or anything, I'm going to push it to 55-60%. I'm not quite as confident as Kevin and Allie. They know a lot more than me, though, to be honest with you, buddy. So that's my gut telling me that it's a little over half, but it's not enough to make me push the betting line on it.
Not kidding me. They don't know dits just like me. Okay, we don't know nothing. We don't have any idea. We're just guessing. We have an informed opinion, Allie, right? An informed opinion.
And I think Allie's pretty sourced in. I think she knows.
Allie knows a lot. She doesn't tell.
I'll give her credit.
Yeah, she hides a lot of her stuff here. All right, so as we go out to basketball, got a number one. Well, not number one now, but they're playing like it, and they're getting better. They solved some of their problems against Miami, Kevin, and a few. They've got the best front court in America. Their guard play is getting better. Give me your take on the basketball scenario, Kevin, and let's get everybody's take on. Is this team good enough to win and repeat? Repeating is tricky. You may be the best team, may not. Is it good enough, Kevin?
Right now, it looks to me like it could be a second weekend team, Sweet 16, Elite 8, but I'm wondering about the guard play, in particular the shooting. Now, Urban Klafschar showed a little something in that Miami game.
Finally.
Did a nice job, 4-7 from 3, but Boogie and Xavier were 0 of 10. So, that's where, and buddy, the 3-point line is so important in college basketball. Your front court can take you, rebounding and getting second chance points is important too, but you're going to need that shooting, I think, to improve to be a Final Four national championship team. But, it could, you never know. But it's still the early stages, and some of it also is shot selection. It's finding the right shots at the right moments. And that's something that can be worked on during the course of the season. But I think there's a little bit of apprehension with regards to Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan right now in terms of, being what they were built to be versus what they are now, which, might not be as high as some people expected or, certainly. But Boogie is, I think the FSU game was Boogie's best game. He showed something there. And, he's going to have to continue to do that because it's a pretty tough stretch coming up after Merrimack because you go to San Diego, you've got TCU and possibly Wisconsin, and then you've got Duke and UConn.
All right, Allie, Thomas Hoff is the bomb. Tommy Hoff, he is really amazing. They're talking about him being a lottery pick, maybe. And the second thing is that Todd Golden did a nice thing. Went down to Orlando, and Will Richard came to town to play against the Magic and presented him with a national championship ring. It's a nice video on that. That's a nice story. And I forgot Will Richard was the first guy that committed to the coach. So that was a good start. So what is your take on the basketball team?
Yeah, well, and Torian Green flew to give Elijah Martin his as well, which I thought was really cool. I mean, this basketball team has a lot of work to do. They lost a ton of talent, but I think they're well coached.
Well, only 3 of the best guards ever played, and all played at one time. Other than that, nothing.
Yeah, and that's going to be, we're really going to have to lean on Tommy here. Like well, some younger guys cut their teeth, but I think this team is going to be really good come February and March, which in basketball is all that really matters, right? I've seen so many fans say different things online about this team, and they're not who we thought they would be or whatever. In college basketball, it doesn't matter what's happening in November. This is your growth period. This is where you cut your teeth. This is where you figure out what your roster depth is like and what you have. I still believe that they're going to be very good
And the SEC's down a little bit compared to last year. I don't think it's as strong. So I could see them going 10-3 non-conference, but like maybe 15-3, 16-2 in the league, and winning the regular season and the tournament again. And that would put them in good shape for March.
Boy, Kentucky got to hand it to them by Michigan State, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, all right, so Carlton, we're just about out of time, but let me give you your basketball take here.
Well, as good as their front court was last year, they won the national title because they had the best backcourt in the country, in my opinion. And this year they've got the best front court, and I still think it's going to take a great backcourt to win it all. I mean, that's just the way basketball is today. It's kind of a backcourt game. I think this backcourt, though, is pretty good right now, but I think it's going to improve. There's going to develop a chemistry, and it's going to be a good enough backcourt to make another run at the Final Four once we get to that part of the year. Right now, it doesn't look like it, but those guys are pretty good. They just haven't played their best ball yet.
Well, they don't have any height, Allie. That's their problem. Oh my gosh, they just keep coming at you like giants. Actually, like to be a 6'7" guy. It's just looking, oh my gosh, where'd they get these guys from? What's that water down there?
I think the one thing though with the backcourt too is the concern might be the durability. I think Boogie's gotten a little stronger, and Xavier's got a little stronger, but lasting a full SEC season.
Yeah.
And Boogie likes to go in the paint. That's going to be worth monitoring as well. And AJ Brown's not back though, and he's another guy. If they can get him healthy, he was a 37% 3-point shooter in Ohio. He might be able to help in the shooting department off the bench the way Klafschar does if they can get him back.
Yeah, I mean the shooting has got to get better, and they got to start making the silly fouls, and they got to make their foul shots for crying out loud. We just took it for granted that they would step to the line at the end of the game. They would always make their shots, and they've got a ways to go, but still it's early, and I have confidence that Todd will find a way to get this team coached up. And like you say, it's a long season. Guys, great job. Let's hope soon we're talking about the new coach at Florida. I personally hope it's Lane Kiffin. I didn't think it was going to be, but now I've come back to thinking it is. That means he'll probably go the other way. When I get on the bandwagon, they go the other way. But so well,
then get off the bandwagon, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I got to get off there and start doing.
Listen, I hope I'm wrong because I want this thing to be over with soon.
Well, I know you do, but it's like my boss at J.C. Penney's when I was in high school. I worked there, and he was his daughter was actually took her on my first date. But Jake Ott, God bless him, God rest his soul, he was the tightest guy in the world. He ran J.C. Penney's, and he ran a tight ship, but he used a lot of high school kids. And on Christmas Eve, the people started coming in there, and Jake then was getting close to closing time, and Jake was having a great time watching those people spending money. So he went up and changed the clocks. Set them back half an hour. So we may be tired of it, but Gator fans this is the perfect internet story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many twists and turns to this one. It's been so interesting to watch. I don't think it's over. If the reports are true that an ultimatum, which Lane has said it was not an ultimatum, but maybe we'll come up with a different adjective, strongly suggested that he decide by the Egg Bowl, then I think that we'll know something, in another 10 days. If not, then maybe that's true that they didn't give him an ultimatum. I don't know. But the longer it drags out that and Florida doesn't have a coach, and we don't have, any other plane trackings to, LA or whatever, any of these other cities with potential candidates, you have to, I don't know, kind of have to feel good, because at the very least, Florida thinks they're waiting for something if they're not moving on to someone else. And that same thing, if LSU hires somebody, we'll know they're removed from the situation.
All right, great stuff, guys. Appreciate you, Kevin. Appreciate you. What was that noise? Carlton, appreciate you. Is that just me? It was Carlton going on. Okay.
Hey,
and Allie, thank you. It's okay. You're good. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night, guys.
I'll catch up to you. All right. Thanks, folks. Listen, thanks for watching. And I know that Carlton thinks he's gone, but he's not. So let's see here.
Buddy, can you?
I can hear you, but we're done. You can hang up. All right. Thank you.
So I had one thing to say about the book.
Well, you got to do it quickly because we're out of time.
All right. Go by the Gatorbait tailgate this Saturday. Franz will be there selling, signing books if you want to go.
All right. And that will
It's by the
be,
cycle.
we'll look it up. And you went out. We don't have you on, but thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. Good job. All right, folks. I wanted to remind you, running out of time tonight. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations. They're one of our major sponsors. 2 in Gainesville, Park Avenue, and now the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service. You can schedule a nighttime appointment if you need it. They have accepted insurance through their convenient self-pay option. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, and ultrasounds. They have the larger MRI machines for your patient comfort. And I love that about Titan MRI. It's your choice. Suggest you check them out. All right, folks, that will wrap up the program tonight. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Thank you to our guests for being there for us. And let's see here. And we'll catch up to you tomorrow night with more on the program right here. We're here all the time. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, you've got SEC Sidelines. And you've got our show tomorrow night. It's going to be an interesting weekend, isn't it? Wow. Poor football team. They need your help, need your support. So have a good one. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. I'm Buddy Martin. Have a great night.